I got Kally here with me today. Kally, Female Athlete of the Year in 2022 last year. So that's excellent. We have a great career to talk about. So glad to have you here. Let's start out where it all started for in terms of your high school career, soccer freshman year, and you had a good season then.
Yeah, that was definitely fun way to start it all off. Making the varsity as a freshman. Wasn't really expecting it, but we did it and um went on to be state champs, overtime win. Got up Jesse Carney for making that goal at the end, but that was a pretty nice way to start off my high school career.
Are there any little things you remember from that season, like specific games, plays, anything like that?
Um, I definitely remember the second game at Stevens because previously they had beaten us on homecoming, and I remember going in there and just everyone was so focused on winning, and we came out so strong. And even though the field was all muddy and wet, we ended up winning, I think 2-0, which was a really nice cherry on the top. And then we got to play them again in the championship and beat them again there. So that was all very nice.
I think your first varsity season for any sport of your high school career is always really special and you learn lessons. Would you learn from that season?
I definitely learned a lot about teamwork and stuff because we had a lot of injuries. Some of our starting goalie, who was a senior, went down, and we had to work in with a freshman that came up, and we had a couple other injuries throughout along the way, and it all brought us together as a group, and we all worked really hard in the end.
So battling through injuries and adversity.
Yeah.
So you had coached on, and then your sophomore season, you go 16-4, state champs again. Take us through that season.
That was definitely a crazy season, to say the least. We had a couple games in there that we probably could have won, but we didn't. But we won the games that we needed to. Especially we won against Bishop Brady twice, and then again in the state championship, which was really nice because they had two all-state really good players, and that was basically their entire team. And we shut them down, and it was nice to get another state championship out of that.
How was that season different now that you had a year of varsity experience already entering that season?
There's definitely more of like a leadership type role. I remember Zahn coming to me and a couple of the other girls and wanting us to take more part in our leadership roles on the field because we were starting, and he wanted us to be more vocal, and I think that was a major step up from last year where I didn't talk much when I played, but it was definitely a step up that in that way.
Okay, communication I think is always huge, and being able to collaborate with others and reach the common goal of winning at state championship. And the success did not stop junior year, but you had COVID to deal with this time. What was that like?
Yeah, that was interesting. We had to play with Mass, and we played a bunch of Division II teams. Yet we still had a very strong season. We tied Bow, we tied MV, had a couple of losses in there still, but overall, I think it was nice to play those teams going into the tournament because we had played the better teams. So when it came to other teams, I think we were more prepared. And then it came down to the championship, which was played not on a neutral turf. We had to go play away at Campbell, and it was nice to come away with a win there that didn't go into extra time. We just straight away came up with I think it's 5-2 win, which was nice.
All right, so we'll move on to senior season. Your team's best season of soccer ever. You had the 19-0 undefeated season right there, and you were a captain on that team. Take us through that season. I'd like to spend a lot of time with that because I know that's really something.
Yeah, it was coming into that season, we knew we were going to be the team everyone wanted to beat. Due to the fact we had won three years prior, and we just knew we were the team that everyone wanted to beat. But we had this really strong group of seniors that has played together basically since freshman year. And Zahn had been with us since freshman year. And I think with that core group, we were able to grow and help the other girls on the team grow and play. And I don't know, we were just so dominant out there. Every time we'd go out there, I know everyone wanted to beat us, but we wanted to beat them just as much. So we kept that streak alive. We it was a great season.
What did it mean to you not only to cap off your high school soccer career with a final championship after winning three the all years prior, but also to do it with an undefeated season perfection that not many schools reach?
That it was pretty awesome to do that, especially surrounded by like all my best friends. I mean, most of the girls on the team I played with since even before high school. So it was like a cherry on top, winning all our games. We scored 100 goals in the regular season at our rival field. There's so many different moments that just made that first senior season great with my senior year.
What did it mean for the have the parade there and you had the buses going through town? Was that the sweetest one of them all?
Yeah, that that one or the first one they're definitely the two sweetest. I mean, it's just so awesome. We have such a great community that they line up and do the parades for us. And it just seemed like there were so many more. It might have been the same amount, but it seemed like it was just so much more and everything was just radiating. And it was an awesome feeling.
All right, now we shift to basketball. We'll begin with your freshman season, 14-6, and you had Coach Roy as your coach for all 4 years. Take us through first season of basketball.
Um, it was definitely a little scary. I was the only freshman on the team, and while I knew some of the older girls, I was a little scared, skeptical coming in, but all the girls were really nice. They took me in, they showed me how to run the plays and everything, and I think I fit in well with everyone. Um, and while we didn't end up, made it to the quarterfinals that year. I think the team, I was really proud of everything that we did. I think we could have made it farther, but we lost a couple games in there. Could have gone either way, but I was really happy with how that first season went.
So would you learn from your first season of basketball on the varsity and also how'd that season and so you said it ended in the quarterfinals. Who would you guys play?
We played up at Newfound. It was a 3 versus 6 seed game. Yeah. And I learned, I mean, similar to my freshman year of soccer, I learned a lot about communication that first year and just not being scared. I think I played a little timid in the beginning of the season, but I thought I kind of came out of my shell as the season went on.
All right, let's move on to your sophomore year, 17-4. Yeah, just take us through what happened.
Sophomore year, I remember the first game of the year we played Newport, and I remember hitting a half court shot at halftime, just right at the buzzer. It was it was nice. We had a packed crowd. It was one of those few games where the girls team had a decent amount of people there. But it was a nice feeling, and that was probably one of our best years. We were the 4 seed, made it to the Final Four, came up a little short in the Final Four against a good Fall Mountain team, but overall, it was a pretty good season.
All right, junior year, you had to deal with COVID, unfortunately, and that totally changed everything. I know there weren't fans there, there was masks required, and a lot of differences. You had to play a lot of D2 schools, so just take us through that.
Yeah, that was definitely an interesting season. We had a good team. I was really happy with the team. We had a great group of seniors there. We had great freshmen and sophomores and everyone there. And we all got along and there was chemistry between everyone. But unfortunately, we played D2 teams, so we did lose a couple there. We beat John Stark, we beat Pembroke, we beat some of those better teams. But then when it came to tournament, we had to play Conant in the first round, who went on to win the state championship that year. So it was an unlucky draw on our part, but
Yeah, well, Conant's a buzzsaw every year. That seems to never change. The same
yeah,
remains true this season. I think they've won 60. They're 60 and something. They're 60 and 60 something and one in their previous games over the last couple seasons. So
yeah.
that's never an easy team to play. So I totally understand that. And then senior season, captain, and you got to be teammates with your sister.
Yeah, that was really nice. Coming into it, little upset coming into it just because I was the only senior and some of the girls I'd played with for a while weren't playing this year, but it was nice to be able to play with my sister and with a bunch of other girls who I'd played with, and we were all like, they're all like little sisters to me now. I still show up to practices and stuff. And they really helped make that senior year fun. And while it wasn't our best record, we had a really tough schedule. We played Conant twice, like Nadnock twice. We played a bunch, like played Stevens, a bunch of these tough teams, which put us lower in the rankings. Which means we didn't get a home game when we probably, in theory, we probably could have. So we ended up going to Stevens. And we lost there. It was the preliminary round, but it was still an overall. I was happy with everyone, and everyone is now back there this year, and they're doing great. So
Yeah, I think that's great that you're able to kind of have that older sister role and be able to talk to your teammates and everything, and we're able to lead them and show the way. And now they're doing pretty good this season, and we can talk about that at some point. But I think another thing that I wanted to get to is you were talking about being the lone senior. What was it like to be the only senior on that senior night?
it was. I was worried about it at first, but it was really nice, especially since a bunch of the senior class came and watched that game, which is usually our girls' games don't get a whole lot of student section unless we're playing like a rival team. Like our Kearsarge games would get a lot, but we were playing Raymond or someone like that, and it wasn't. I didn't think we were gonna get a lot, but we did, and it was nice to see the support from them and the support from the team. They decorated the locker room. It all looked really nice.
All right, we'll shift gears to softball. You had Coach Meserve, freshman season, 16-4.
Yeah. Again, my freshman year in all sports it was pretty entertaining. We ended up winning a state championship again that year, kind of as an underdog team. Because we had to play Campbell in the championship, which they had beat us previously. Pretty bad. It wasn't like a beat down, but they had beat us pretty significantly early on. So it was nice to come back and win that game. Nice little cherry on top with everyone. We all worked really hard, and that was probably one of my favorite seasons.
Okay, and then let's go into your sophomore season. There was no season though, so we can't talk about the season when there was no season, but what did it mean to have that season canceled for you?
It hurt a lot. I just remember we had a lot of the team coming back. I was sad. We were losing a lot of leadership in our seniors from the previous year, but we had a lot coming back, and we had a good freshman group coming up, and I had high hopes for that season. So when it got canceled, I think everyone was pretty bummed, because I think we would have been a pretty strong contender.
So I think you're sixth all time in runs in Hopkinton softball history. And if you take that season and you, in theory, you had played that season, you might be number one because you had, I think, 58 when we checked earlier, and the all-time leader had 77. So if you round that to 60, you say about 20 a year, then you'd be at 80. So you could, in theory, be number one. So you're one of the best players in the history of the program. I think that's something definitely worth noting. So that season kind of hurt, I guess, but I think you still deserve the recognition for that. What did it mean not only lose out on that season, but lose out on that opportunity? Or do you not really think much about it?
I didn't really think much about that. I mean, I was really just sad for the seniors that sophomore year because we had a great group of seniors. And they didn't get to play that senior year. And I was kind of upset about that. And I thought it just ruined the flow a little bit. I had to take a year off. I didn't play softball again until junior year. So I don't know.
So did it make you appreciate it that much more when you were able to return junior year?
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely took advantage junior year and tried. I put a lot of work in the off season. I did a little bit of ASA softball and stuff like that. So
So, do you want to take us through a little bit about that and just playing softball outside of Hopkinton to try and improve?
Yeah, so I decided to play with the Comets. Um, and it was a really nice opportunity. We traveled to a lot of nice places. Um, and I learned a lot, especially about my hitting. They helped me a lot in that aspect. Um, and I met a lot of awesome girls. I even got to play up with the older team once, which is really nice because it was like a bunch of just college girls basically. It was really cool to be in that environment and playing at such a high level like that, which I think helped.
So you said there was a lot of great places you got to go. So was there like I know I've taken some trips with baseball before and going on the road, there's a lot of great scenery in New Hampshire. Is there anything specifically you want to note?
Well, one of my I really liked when we went up to Old Orchard Beach. That's always a spot I like going to. I went there a lot in middle school when I did AAU basketball, and that was always a fun spot to visit. And that was a good tournament for us. We played well. I don't know. I think we won a couple games, but we stayed close, and it was a good tournament. It was almost like a showcase type tournament, so we did well in that one.
Okay. So we'll move on. On junior year, you got back and you guys were runner up.
Yeah, that one hurt us a little bit. We had a great team. We It was COVID year again, so we didn't play our normal schedule. We kind of played around and played some D2 teams, from these other D3 teams, but we ended up playing Campbell again in the championship. One of our starters ended up getting hurt the previous day, so we were down a player, which I think threw off our mojo a little bit. Um, and Campbell came out ready. They wanted to beat us after that freshman year loss, so they came out. They deserved that win, but it was still a really fun season.
So we'll move on to your senior year. You won 13 games again, and this time you were a captain though, like you were for the other sports. You were for basketball and you were for soccer in your season. So what did the role of captain mean for you, and how was that different for softball compared to any other sport, or wasn't not any different?
Mostly, it was kind of similar. Just making sure the girls kept their head in the game. I think softball, in a lot more aspects than soccer or basketball, it's a mental game for some, for a lot of people. I mean, if you're not hitting the ball or you make a mistake, it can get to your head. And I think making sure that we just stayed focused on the game and everything. And we had a great year. We had a lot of big hitters that year, and we unfortunately one of our players couldn't play with us during the playoffs, so we were down another player. Um, and ended up we made it to the quarterfinals and lost really close game against Campbell. Um, like a 1 or 2 run game.
So let's see, there's a couple things to get to here. That's the end of your varsity sports career. That was it at the end of it. What was the feeling around that? I'm imagining it was sad. And what advice would you have for anybody else after going through that experience who is looking to play high school sports or is in high school sports?
Um, yeah, it was definitely it didn't really hit me until like after the game. I think awards night was when it really hit me. I was like, I'm done sports in high school, and that's when it was like, whoa. But advice, I mean, just don't have any regrets. I mean, there's times where I go back to games and I'm like, oh, I wish I'd done this. Oh, I wish I'd done that. Just, I mean, you live and you learn. You're gonna make mistakes in these games, and it's gonna happen. Just don't regret how hard you play, basically.
And then likewise with basketball for your senior season for softball, you got to be teammates with your sister. Anything different or additional you would like to note with that that you didn't have to note really with basketball?
Um, Honestly, it was similar. I with my senior year basketball, me and Shayla did a lot. We were our like 1-2 point guard, shooting guard type of stuff, and in softball we were hitting 1-2. So there's a lot we did together. Uh, did play in the infield together, and so it was nice to play with her um, in another sport in at the high school level, because I played with her in like high sports and stuff, but at a high school level, it's definitely a different environment.
All right, so now we'll get to female athlete of the year last year. That's quite the achievement. What's that mean to you?
Um, that was an awesome accomplishment, especially considering our senior class had so many good athletes. They could have chosen from, and I was really honored to get that award. Um, and I put so much time into the sports throughout my 4 years that it was nice. It was like just a cherry on top kind of thing. It's always something my freshman year I remember saying I wanted to be the female athlete of the year. Um, so it was nice that that goal came true.
All right, move it on from Hopkinton. You decided to attend Wheaton College and you're studying psychology. Tell us a little bit about that and your interest in psychology and why you chose that.
Yeah. So I chose Wheaton. It's because it wasn't too far away. It's about 2 hours from here, and it had a good psychology program. It was small, and it had a lot of different clubs that I liked. I play intramural soccer and basketball and club soccer and stuff like that. So that's kind of what drew my interest there. And I've always been a fan of psychology. Um, kind of kind of a weird origin story ever since I started watching Criminal Minds. It kind of drew my interest in it. It was a little bit weird, but
That's all right.
yeah, that's kind of why. But and so that's kind of why Wheaton was the choice there.
Was there ever a thought of trying to play varsity sports in college?
Yeah, I did think about it. Talked about it with all my coaches and stuff. Just decided not to. And yeah,
Okay. So could you see yourself as a coach potentially somewhere at some point?
definitely. Um, I love coaching. I love biddy ball when I was in high school, and even sometimes I helped out a little bit when I was back for my college break now. So I love coaching little kids, and I helped my dad with the JV team. So I definitely want coaching to be somewhere in my future.
Could you see yourself coaching at Hopkinton?
I could definitely see myself coaching here. I think that'd be great. I think it'd be kind of like a full circle moment for me to start here and then come back and coach. And yeah, definitely.
Outside of coaching and psychology, well, potentially factoring in psychology, where do you see yourself in 5, 10, 20 years down the line?
I'm hoping that through the psychology program, I can hopefully become maybe a school counselor someday, hopefully an elementary school counselor. Because I love working with kids, and I think working in a school setting would be nice, and you can work with behavior, which would be my focus for psychology, learning more about human behavior.
Okay, so anything you want to add on to that overall? Anybody you would like to mention, your coaches, family potentially?
Definitely want to thank all three of my coaches, Don, Roy, Reserve, because um, when we wouldn't have had those great seasons. We didn't have very many losing seasons. We were usually had double-digit wins every year. So definitely shout out to them. Shout out to my parents for getting me into sports so young, and my dad for coaching me from so young, and all my siblings because they pushed me and we've done a lot together.
Hey, thanks, Kelly.
Thank you, Drew.